everybody, it's Michelle LaVore and
Devin Moore
coming at ya. And we're here again on Monday for a little video about relationships. So we just wanted to ask the question basically of, are you looking for Jesus when it comes to your relationship with?
Oh yeah, I try to see Jesus in everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try to see Jesus in everybody. You know, I think there's just a little bit of him in everybody. Is that what you're talking about?
Not quite.
Oh,
no.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about when, you know, you're maybe dating, and you're trying to find your spouse, and
yes, I go on dates with Jesus all the time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, this is more like a guy thing. We go a guy night out or some type deal.
Sweet. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you get to do that.
Is that what you're talking about?
No.
Oh,
no.
Not that either?
No, not at all.
Okay, all right. Then I'll just be quiet. Just let you talk.
But I'm talking about, what are your expectations when it comes to finding your spouse?
Right.
And a lot of times, I think we can start, there's really kind of two ways a lot of people can tend to go. One is your expectations are so high, it's like you're looking for a perfect person.
You're looking for Jesus
to be your spouse.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, you're never going to find that.
Yeah. Or you can go the opposite, where you really have no expectations and anybody will do.
Ooh,
and
that's really bad.
You don't want to be there either.
That's really bad.
And I think so it's really important to look at, when you're single and you do want to start dating, is look at what it is that you really are looking for, and to remind yourself that every single person you meet is going to have weaknesses. They're going to have places in their life. That didn't apply to you.
So
yeah, it didn't apply.
There are exceptions to the rule.
So everybody has weaknesses.
Yes.
And everybody has strengths.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes when you are looking for a spouse, you can tend to try and find this perfect person, and the truth is they're not going to be perfect.
Isn't that kind of like why you had a hard time with your eHarmony and your Match.com?
Yeah.
You get like 3 options.
Yeah. Yeah, because I had so many things. And the truth is, it was to the best of what I knew. But I did have, because with like Match.com, you can put tons of different filters on it. You can have age, you can have education, all this sort of thing. But I did have a specific list of things that I was really looking for in somebody else. And those really were a lot of just heart things that I wanted to make sure somebody else had. Or just general even characteristics. And I think that it is very important to have what you could consider non-negotiables.
Yes.
Things, very standards that you're going to have. That it's just like, okay, this really would not work for me if this thing were in play. For example, I'll just give an example of... Hey,
Jolene talked about that. She was saying, when she commented, she was like, you need to have some non-negotiables. Yes. I'm like, yes, you do.
Yes, absolutely. For me, I was not going to date somebody who was a smoker, because it's just, for me, that would not work. That is a non-negotiable. Mm-hmm. Obviously, my number one non-negotiable was, are they a believer or not? And it's like, okay, if they aren't, we're not even going on a date. And if they are, then...
you are not going to be compatible.
Yeah, you won't be compatible at all, because we're on 2 different worlds. Mm-hmm. And no matter how much I like you, it's not going to work, because we're just not going to... I don't know what we would talk about.
Well, the core part of who you are is just not something that they are into, that they understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's really good to have a list of characteristics that you are looking for. Mm-hmm. But it's also important to remember that you're not going to find a perfect person. It's
like house shopping, isn't it?
Yeah.
You gotta find something that's like, oh my gosh, this fits. Even our dream house.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, both of us love it. Both of us would not have anything bad to say about it. But there are still things about it that I was like, well, I wish that wasn't there, and I wish this was. But they're not like, they're not deal breakers by any stretch.
Yeah.
It's just, it's not perfect.
Yeah.
And even when we build our own house, it's probably, we're going to be in it about a year, and we're like, wow, man, I wish we had done that differently. It's just, you can't be looking for perfection.
Yeah. And so I would just, definitely make a list of things that you're just like, I'm not going to negotiate on these things. Mm-hmm. But truthfully, even for you, like a non-negotiable for you was like you wanted somebody who was baptized in the Spirit. And like for you, it was like when you found out I wasn't, it was at first you're like, oh, it's over. It's like in your mind.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that was necessarily a non-negotiable. It was just like, oh, I know this isn't going to work. Yeah. Because I know how your camp and my camp, we don't get along. We're not compatible. Yeah. It's just not going to work. And, and it took the Lord, like we were said also in that compatibility hearing from the Lord video / yeah. It took the Lord to be like, well, hold on. Because I really felt like I would be compromising, and then it's like I feel like the other person would be compromising too. It's just like, but the Lord was just like, well, that's not how I see it. So why don't you hold on? Don't go anywhere. Yeah. Don't go get the check and cash out your dinner yet. Yeah. And yeah, I'm so glad I didn't.
Well, me too. And so you really
figured I'd give you a chance.
You really do just need to look at what are some things that you really want to have in the other person. Mm-hmm. And I think personally, like some things that I think we maybe could give some examples of what would be some good things about a person. I would say number one is, their relationship with the Lord. Mm-hmm. And I think this will vary from person to person based on your own relationship with the Lord.
Or like that show, It Takes a Church.
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah. There was that one blonde guy. He was a good-looking dude. He looked like that blonde dude from the Green Bay Packers. And he was athletic and he was soft-spoken, but he had he had a quiet strength about him and all that stuff. He just seemed cool. Seemed like someone I would like want to hang out with and be friends, but he didn't know the Lord. Yeah. And I was like, wait, I thought this was It Takes a Church. Yeah. It's like, you don't even know the Lord. It's like, and she was like, how can you be a candidate? And how can my church even pick you for me? Yeah. And you don't even know the Lord. It's like, and for her, that was a deal breaker. Yeah. She was like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to, what do they say, vote you out or whatever. Yeah. I'm going to have to let you go. Yeah. Because that was a non-negotiable for her. Yeah. And it should be. If you're a believer.
If you are a believer, God clearly says, like, do not be unequally yoked. And it's like,
how are you going to build a life with that person?
Yeah, when you aren't believing the same thing. And
well, guess who's coming into the video? Go ahead, keep going.
He sounds like he's doing his tired cry.
Oh, maybe I'll just rock him then. Go ahead, babe.
And so some like key things to just think about is really. I totally forgot where I'm going.
Well, she forgot where she was going, so I'll pick up from here. Yeah. I think for me, one of my definite non-negotiables was what you're talking about. Like, does she know the Lord? After that, it becomes, that's like the major one. After that, it becomes preference-based. Yeah. You know what I mean? Even the non-negotiables have to do with compatibility and preference, because I know for some people, I mean, they were young back in my YWAM days, but the girls would make up their list of, this is what I want to see in a guy. And they were like, oh, he has to have blue eyes. He has to have blue eyes. I'm like, he has to have blue eyes. That's a non-negotiable? Okay, but I don't think that's a non-negotiable. Yeah. We're talking about character things, you know? Yes. I mean, naturally, if they know the Lord, then you're hoping that they're not drinking and and doing all these things that worldly people do. But even with church people, it's like, watched this show, It Takes a Church. We watched all episodes, both seasons, and it was really cool to kind of watch that all over again, because it lets you know, like, a lot of these guys and girls that are getting picked, they're great, but they're just not matches for that person, because it's like, well, I need someone. I'm already a strong person. I need someone who's going to, like, be willing to take lead or take charge, or vice versa. I was like, I need someone who can listen to me. And this person's not a great listener. They're more of a take charge kind of person. So see, those kind of things, based on the compatibility issue, they can be non-negotiables, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad people. It's just you guys are going to click. You guys are going to connect. I think those non-negotiables are preference-based. I really do.
Yeah, they really are.
You know?
But like you said, like when it comes to, you know, if you are a believer, do they believe in God? And that really is even something you have to discover more. Just because somebody says, oh, I believe in God, yeah, I go to church, that does not mean that they have a relationship with the Lord, and you know, that they really are seeking God, and that
doesn't
He
mean
is
that they're going to be compatible with you. You know, it's just.
But I think for me, some of the top qualities that you want to be looking for in a spouse, I think, is humility. I think humility goes a long way. You know, when in our relationship with the Lord, we need to be humble, because that's how we learn and grow. And humility in a relationship is so important, because that means you're going to be willing.
It's the flour to the cake, man.
It really is.
It really is.
It's like you're going to be willing to change. You're going to be willing to go through whatever it is that you need to go through to better your relationship. And, you know, because you can't go anywhere if one person is like, hey, I'm willing to change, but the other person is like, no, I'm not going to. You know?
That's why I always say, like, will you marry them for who they are right now and they never change?
Yeah.
If your answer is no, I really want them to change this or that, well, then you don't need to be marrying them.
Yeah.
But I love him. Wow, do you? Anyway, that's a whole other video.
They will change eventually. It's like,
no, they won't. They might.
They could, but it's like, are you willing
but even in that,
to take that risk when there is a high possibility that they won't? You know, and I think humility is huge, because really it's one of those things that can it really does lead to change. You know, if somebody struggles in another area, but they have humility, they're teachable. They can grow, they can learn.
I think also, even for people who are like really strong personalities and big talkers, I think it's good for us especially to develop listening ability, listening skills. So you got to be a good listener no matter what kind of personality type you have. Some people are really good at it, but then you have to develop it. For people like me, you have to develop it, because I'm always wanting to say something. Yeah. You know, and it's just like, so I think that's a really important thing to, because you want to be heard. And not only that, why do I say that? Also, I feel like in representing the Lord, He thinks it's a good quality to have. Because He's like, husbands, you better listen to your wife, or I'm not going to listen to you. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so it's important, because listening is a part, I think it's a branch of humility. It's an outgrowth from humility. Oh, buddy, you are just tired.
He is so tired.
Yes.
And so and kind of like what Devin was saying is like, you know, when you're making your list, I would, you know, yes, we have our preferences, but to say like, I'm looking for somebody with blue eyes that's 5'7" and 160 pounds with this muscles and that, and
they work out a lot.
And it's like, okay, those are all outward appearance things. Let me tell you, those things are going to change. Yeah. You know, and it's like you have to look at the heart of a person. Yeah. You have to be attracted to that person's character.
And no matter what happens, you're really taking a risk. That's why you have to have the Lord in it. Yeah. You have to have the Lord in the seeking of a wife or a husband. You have to have the Lord in it. And it has to be about Him and stay about Him for you. Yeah. That my relationship with Michelle is totally about the Lord.
Yeah.
And it's just like anything that, you know what I mean? I sit down and watch Anne of Green Gables because I love her. You know what I'm saying? Yep. And vice versa, Lord of the Rings in the house.
Boom.
And it's just like, you know, because it's like when you love a person, you're going to do things and all that stuff. But it's
like love, like pursue love and love pursues. We made shirts about that. Pretty
great
awesome
t-shirts. Yeah.
But anyway, it really is talking about like when you love someone. Love is a pursuing activity, I guess. Yeah. And that you're going to pursue the heart of the other person, and they're going to pursue you.
Yeah, when you love somebody, you're not trying to get anything in return. You are, you know, that's why you get married, because you're trying to get something. Yeah. But love really is, it gives first.
Yeah.
It doesn't get first. It gives first. And out of that, you know, because you don't know like 25 years down the road what those two people are going to be like.
No.
You don't know what kind of changes are going to happen. You don't know what kind of traumatic things are going to happen. You don't know what kind of chemical things are going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen that could take what was once really beautiful and turn it into a great big mess that's just irreconcilable. And so you have to have the Lord with you, and He has to be your number one all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and I think having those particular non-negotiables of the humility and listening and make sure you're loving, all that, like, that's going to last through any storm. You know, anything that comes from the rock and it's founded on the rock, it's going to survive the storms of life, you know, because I know some couples that have been married 25, 30 years and they're divorced now.
Yeah.
But I also know some couples that have been married 25, 30, 40 years, and they're still together, and they actually love being around each other.
Yeah.
They love it. I mean, I know some people that are been married for 30 years, and they're just roommates.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, it depends on, but when you study those relationships up close, like I've had a chance to, you see why they are the way they are.
Yeah.
There's so many areas that they don't talk about. There's so many issues that they don't bring up, or they're just taboo issues, and there's so many issues that have probably been issues in their life before they even got married, and they've never dealt with them. And it's like, so it's like when you first start out, you know, are you looking for Jesus in the person? Well, yes, as much as you can possibly get. Yeah. But you can't actually be getting Jesus because you've already got Him.
Yeah.
You know, so you're just looking for someone to walk this out with who loves the Lord like you, who respects the Lord like you, who is humble before the Lord like you, and not afraid to say, I'm sorry, I messed up, I'm wrong, I'm afraid, those kind of things.
Yeah.
You know, when you have that, then I think you have something pretty solid.
You do. So. Yeah. Loved all of that. Good job.
He is going down.
Yeah. And so, that's basically, I feel like, what we have for you guys for this video.
Let us know what you guys think of these relationship videos.
Yeah, and feel free to ask more questions. Yeah. We would love that.
We're still working it out.
Yeah, we are. It's getting there. You know, it's always hard getting
It's a new thing.
It's a new thing, and you just have to work and tweak and all of that. So, yeah, we just pray that you guys are blessed. And, you know, if you are single, just take the time, and if, you know, marriage, because that's the thing, when you're single, you do not have to get married. You really don't. But if that is something that is on your heart, it's a desire, it's a dream, then...
Could be just a timing issue.
Yeah, it could just be a timing issue. But I would take that time and really just, you know, you write down some of the things that you do desire in a spouse, and then you yourself just continue wholeheartedly pursuing the Lord and just going after Him, and you know, and if God is asking you to, you know, if you do good to go on dates and stuff like that, just go and go to God and just continually place that before Him. And
yeah.
So, until next time, guys, we'll see you later.
Yeah, we're going to be getting a little more creative with these videos pretty soon, because we got some really cool like film ideas that we want to throw at you guys to make it more fun.
Yeah.
You know? But we'll see you next week.
Yes.
A little Relationship Monday.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye, guys.